There comes a moment in your life when you must stop waiting for permission. A moment when you stop looking around for someone to rescue you, validate you, recognize you, or open a door for you. A moment when you look in the mirror and realize the person staring back is the only one capable of changing the direction of your life. That moment is now. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now. Because your life doesn't change when circumstances shift. Your life changes when you shift, when your mind shifts, when your decisions shift, when your belief in yourself becomes stronger than the doubts trying to pull you back. You've been living too long with the weight of expectations that aren't even yours. Too long listening to opinions that were never meant to guide your destiny. Too long shaping your future around fears that don't belong to you. But today you make a declaration. Today you take ownership. Today you say the words that will reshape everything that follows. My mind, my rules, my life. Because whether you realize it or not, your mind is the command center of your destiny. Every victory, every failure, every breakthrough, every limitation, it all starts inside your head. The world can tell you what you can't do, but your mind decides whether you accept it. People can doubt you, but your mind determines whether their doubt becomes your reality. Your past can remind you of your mistakes, but your mind chooses whether your future will be built on them or built beyond them. And if you don't take control of your mind, life will control it for you. You will find yourself drifting, reacting, surviving, waiting for the next thing to happen instead of creating what's possible. But when you take back control, when you draw that line in the sand and say, this is my life and I decide how it unfolds, everything begins to change. Not instantly, not magically, but decisively. Because clarity is power. Ownership is power. Responsibility is power. You must understand something. Your mind has been conditioned. Conditioned by your upbringing. Conditioned by your environment. Conditioned by the voices you heard growing up, the failures you experienced, the disappointments you carried, the mistakes you punished yourself for. But the good news is this: you can re-condition it. You can rewrite the narrative. You can delete the old program and install a new one. You can choose new beliefs. You can choose new thoughts. You can choose a new direction. And that's where your rules come in. You've been living under everyone else's rules. Rules about what is realistic, what is acceptable, what is possible for someone like you. Rules about how you're supposed to think, act, dream, and behave. But understand this: other people's rules are built on their fears, not your potential. Their limits are not your destiny. Their beliefs are not your boundaries. Their doubts are not your truth. You get to set your own rules. Rules that empower you, rules that challenge you, rules that elevate you instead of shrinking you. Those that align with the future you want, not the past you escaped. You can set a rule that says, I show up every day even when I don't feel like it. You can set a rule that says, I will not abandon myself again. You can set a rule that says, my dreams are valid, my voice is powerful, and my life has purpose. You can set a rule that says, I overcome, I rise, I become. Because once you set your own rules, you stop apologizing for who you are. You stop hiding your ambition. You stop shrinking to fit places you've outgrown. You stop accepting disrespect disguised as normal. You stop letting fear negotiate the terms of your life. And for the first time, you become dangerous, not to others, but to the person you used to be. The version of you that settled, the version of you that doubted, the version of you that lived small. But your rules mean nothing if you don't take responsibility for your life. This is the part most people run from: responsibility. Because responsibility is not comfortable. Responsibility doesn't care how tired you are. Responsibility doesn't care about excuses or stories or circumstances. Responsibility demands ownership. And ownership demands honesty. Honesty with yourself, about yourself. It requires looking at where you are and acknowledging that your decisions brought you here. Not fate, not luck, not other people. You. That's hard, that's uncomfortable. But it is also the most liberating truth you'll ever embrace. Because if your decisions got you here, your decisions can get you out. If your choices created this life, your choices can create a better one. If your old mindset shaped your past, a new mindset can shape your future. You are not stuck. You are not broken. You are not powerless. You are in control, even when it doesn't feel like it. You are the author, the builder, the designer, the architect of your life. Everything changes when you stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "What am I going to do about it?" Your life will not transform because you wish it would. It will transform because you command it to, because you claim it, because you discipline yourself to show up with intention, because you refuse to let your emotions dictate your direction, because you choose to think differently, speak differently, act differently. It begins with one thought: my life is mine. It continues with one decision: I take control. It grows with one habit: I show up every day. It manifests with one belief: I am worthy of more. And it becomes unstoppable with one truth: your mind, your rules, your life. So stand tall, straighten your back, lift your head. Don't wait for confidence, create it. Don't wait for the perfect moment, declare it. Don't wait for a sign. You are the sign. This is your time, this is your turn, this is your life. And from this moment forward, everything changes. When you finally understand that you must take control of your mind, or the world will control it for you, everything about your life begins to shift. Most people move through life unaware of the silent battle happening inside their own head. They wake up every day reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of deciding, hoping instead of directing. They don't realize that the greatest influence on their future isn't their environment, their circumstances, or the people around them. It's the thoughts they allow, the beliefs they accept, and the mental patterns they repeat. Your mind is constantly being shaped, constantly being influenced, constantly being guided by something. If you don't choose what shapes it, the world will. And the world will always push you toward fear, toward limitation, toward doubt, toward conformity, toward settling for less than what you are capable of. That's why taking control of your mind is not optional. It's essential. Every day, external forces are trying to shape your thinking. Social, media, news, opinions, expectations, your past, your failures, your environment. If you are not consciously choosing what to accept and what to reject, you will unconsciously absorb everything. And whatever you absorb, you begin to believe. Whatever you believe, you begin to live. Your mind is like a garden. Thoughts are seeds. If you don't plant intentionally, weeds will grow automatically. That's why many people feel stuck without understanding why. They're not stuck because they lack ability. They're stuck because they've allowed the wrong seeds to grow unchecked. Seeds of doubt, seeds of fear, seeds of insecurity, seeds of comparison, seeds of procrastination. The world plants these seeds daily, and if you don't take control, they become your truth. Taking control of your mind means becoming aware of what's happening in your inner world. It means challenging the thoughts you've accepted for years. It means questioning the stories you tell yourself. It means recognizing when your thinking is being influenced by fear instead of purpose, by your past instead of your potential, by old pain instead of new possibility. Most people don't realize how powerful their thoughts are. A single belief can build a life or destroy one. A single doubt can stop someone from pursuing their calling. A single fear can keep a person trapped for years. A single negative voice, whether internal or external, can become the dominating force of a person's choices. But the moment you decide to take command of your mind is the moment you begin rewriting everything. You don't control the world, but you control how your mind interprets it. Two people can go through the same situation and walk away with completely different futures because of how their mind processed the experience. One person sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. One person sees failure, the other sees feedback. One person sees a dead end, the other sees a chance to begin again. This difference is not luck. It is mental discipline. You cannot stop life from happening, but you can decide what those events mean. And meaning creates direction. Meaning creates emotion. Meaning creates behavior. Meaning creates outcomes. When you take control of your mind, you take control of the meaning, and therefore you take control of your life. Taking control also means refusing to let your emotions lead you blindly. Feelings are real, but they are not always accurate. Emotions are like weather. They change, they move, they rise and fall. But your decisions must be anchored in something stronger than temporary feelings. When you let your emotions run your mind, the world can manipulate you easily. But when your mind leads your emotions, you become unshakable. You still feel fear, but it doesn't stop you. You still feel doubt, but it doesn't control you. You still feel uncertainty, but it doesn't paralyze you. A disciplined mind doesn't eliminate emotion, it masters it. And mastery is built through intentional practice. You must become the gatekeeper of your thoughts. You must filter what enters your mind. You must choose what you feed yourself mentally, what you read, what you watch, who you listen to, who you surround yourself with, what you repeat to yourself daily. Your mind responds to repetition more than inspiration. Motivation can spark you, but repetition shapes you. The thoughts you rehearse become the beliefs you live by. The beliefs you live by become the reality you experience. So you must build mental habits that strengthen you. Habits like positive self-talk, visualization, gratitude, reading, reflection, silence, journaling, surrounding yourself with strong-minded individuals, and protecting your energy from people who drain your mental space. Your life is a reflection of your mental standards. When you truly take control of your mind, other people's opinions lose their power. Their doubt no longer determines your direction. Their criticism no longer stops your progress. Their disbelief no longer becomes your identity. You stop letting noise distract you. You stop letting discouragement derail you. You stop letting fear dictate the size of your dreams. The moment you take control of your mind, you shift from being reactive to being intentional. You stop asking, what will happen if this goes wrong? And start asking, what could happen if I don't give up? You stop waiting for opportunities and start creating them. You stop living limited by your past and start living guided by your vision. Your mind is the battleground where your life is won or lost. If you don't stand guard at the door of your mind, someone else will walk in and decorate it with their fears, their insecurities, their expectations, their limitations. But when you become the authority of your inner world, you become unstoppable. You realize that the power you were searching for outside was always inside. You realize that the world doesn't need to give you permission to rise. You realize that circumstances don't dictate your capacity. You realize that your dreams are not defined by your environment, but by your mindset. You realize that the only real prison is the one built by your thoughts, and the only real freedom begins when you learn to break those chains. Rewriting the beliefs and mental programs that no longer serve your future begins with recognizing that most of what you think, feel, and react to every day did not originate from conscious choice. Much of it was absorbed, inherited, conditioned, or repeated into you without your permission. Your mind has been shaped by years of experiences, some powerful, some painful, some accidental, some intentional. And these experiences created patterns. And those patterns created beliefs. And those beliefs now influence how you see yourself, what you think you're capable of, and how far you allow yourself to go. But here's the truth. Many people never discover. Beliefs are not fixed. They are not permanent. They are not destiny. They are stories. And stories can be rewritten. They can be challenged. They can be replaced with something stronger. They can be upgraded to match the version of you that is rising instead of the version of you that has already passed. Many of the beliefs you carry were formed when you were younger, when you didn't have the tools or awareness to evaluate whether they were true. Maybe someone told you that you weren't smart enough, talented enough, strong enough, worthy enough. Maybe you failed once, and your mind decided to protect you by creating a belief that said, don't try again, it hurts too much. Maybe you grew up around people who played it safe, so your mind decided that dreaming big is risky. Maybe you heard criticism so often that it became your default inner voice. These beliefs weren't created by choice, they were created by emotional moments. But emotional moments can become mental prisons if you don't consciously break them down. Rewriting beliefs requires awareness. You must look at your thoughts like you are observing someone else. You must notice the patterns, the doubts you keep repeating, the negative self-talk that comes so naturally, the fears that show up every time an opportunity appears, the excuses that disguise themselves as logic, and the limitations you have normalized. When you begin listening to your mind with clarity instead of judgment, you start to see the programming. You start to recognize which thoughts are yours and which ones belong to your past, to other people, or to old versions of you that no longer represent who you are becoming. Your beliefs act like filters. They shape how you interpret the world. If you believe you're not enough, you will find evidence everywhere to confirm it. If you believe life is working against you, every challenge will feel like proof. If you believe success is for others but not for you, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself every time you get close. Your mind is powerful, but it is also obedient. It follows the instructions of your beliefs. That's why your internal programming matters more than any external goal. You cannot outwork a belief that says you don't deserve success. You cannot outrun a belief that says you're not capable. You cannot outdream a belief that says your future is limited. If the programming is outdated, the results will always be limited. Rewriting beliefs starts with questioning them. When a thought arises, I can't do this, I'm not ready, I never succeed, you must challenge it, not accept it as truth. You ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who taught me this? Is this belief helping me grow or holding me back? What evidence do I have that this thought is true? What evidence do I have that it is not? When you start having conversations with your thoughts instead of surrendering to them, you take back power. You become the author instead of the passenger. And once you question your old beliefs, you replace them with new ones. Beliefs that match your potential instead of your past. New programming requires repetition, not perfection. You must affirm what you want to believe before you feel it, before you see it, before you fully understand it. At first, the new beliefs will feel unnatural. They will feel uncomfortable. They will feel like you are pretending. But that discomfort is the sign that your mind is being rewired. That is the discomfort of growth, not deception. You rewrite your beliefs by feeding your mind new inputs, reading powerful books, listening to empowering voices, surrounding yourself with people who believe in their own potential, exposing yourself to stories of those who overcame the same limitations you're battling. Your mind absorbs what it repeatedly hears. If you feed it strength, it becomes strong. If you feed it possibilities, it becomes creative. If you feed it courage, it becomes bold. The world will always try to feed you fear, but you must choose what your mind digests. You also rewrite your beliefs through action. Action is the proof your mind needs to trust new programming. If you believe you are capable, you take actions aligned with capability. If you believe you deserve more, you start making decisions that reflect your worth. If you believe you are growing, you start embracing challenges instead of avoiding them. Every time you act in alignment with a new belief, you weaken the old one. You break the neural patterns. You disrupt the automatic thinking. You build a new internal identity. Another powerful way to rewrite beliefs is through visualization. Not fantasy, mental rehearsal. When you see yourself succeeding, achieving, becoming, and rising, your mind begins to accept this as a possible reality. The brain doesn't distinguish deeply imagined experience from real experience. It creates emotional memory either way. The more vividly you imagine your growth, the more natural your new beliefs become. You begin to live from your future instead of from your past. But perhaps the most important part of rewriting beliefs is forgiveness, letting go of the things that reinforce the negative programming. Forgiving yourself for the mistakes that made you feel unworthy, forgiving the people who made you feel small, forgiving the circumstances that broke you. Forgiveness does not excuse the past. It releases its control over your present. When you remove the emotional weight, the belief that came with it loses its power. Your future requires a new internal foundation. You cannot build a new life with old thoughts. You cannot step into your potential while holding beliefs that were formed during your pain. The future version of you, stronger, smarter, wiser, more confident, cannot emerge if your mind is still operating on beliefs created by fear, scarcity, rejection, or survival. To become the person your destiny requires, you must think like them long before you become them. Rewriting your beliefs is not a one-time transformation. It is a daily practice. It is reminding yourself who you are and who you refuse to be. It is choosing new patterns every morning and rejecting old ones every night. It is taking every thought captive and deciding whether it belongs to your future or your past. It is understanding that your mind may resist at first, but over time, it will obey. It will adapt. It will evolve. It will follow the blueprint you continuously choose to reinforce. You are not trapped by your old programming. You are not defined by beliefs you didn't consciously choose. You are not destined to repeat mental patterns that were created in moments of pain. You have the authority to rewrite everything. Your identity, your direction, your limits, your story. And it begins the moment you decide that your future deserves a new belief system, a stronger foundation, and a mindset aligned with who you are becoming, rather than who you have been. Setting your own rules begins the moment you realize that most of the limitations in your life were never created by you. They were borrowed, inherited, absorbed, and accepted without questioning whether they fit who you are or who you're meant to become. You've spent years following rules that don't belong to your destiny. Rules about what's possible, what's realistic, what's appropriate, what's acceptable for someone with your background, your past, your education, your circumstances. These rules were created by people who were living through their own fears, their own insecurities, their own failures, their own comfort zones. But the life you want, the greatness you feel inside you, the calling that refuses to go away, those things cannot exist inside someone else's rule book. They require a system built by you, aligned with your vision, your purpose, your identity, and your potential. When you follow other people's rules, you live their life, not yours. You follow their limits, their expectations, their opinions. You shrink yourself to fit into boundaries you never agreed to. You lower your voice to avoid making others uncomfortable. You reduce your dreams so they don't look unrealistic. You dim your personality because someone once told you that you were too much. But understand something. People will always try to shrink what threatens their comfort. People will always try to limit what exposes their own lack of effort or courage. People will always try to impose their rules on you because it's easier than creating their own. But you were not born to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. You were born to create, to build, to rise, to define, to lead your own path. And that begins with setting your own rules. Setting your rules means you decide what you tolerate and what you refuse to accept. You decide what you chase and what you release. You decide what matters and what doesn't. You decide what you invest your time in, who you allow into your life, and what behaviors you adopt or reject. When you set your own rules, you reclaim your authority. You take back your power. You end the cycle of living for approval. You stop waiting for permission. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop explaining why you want more. You stop apologizing for your ambition. Most people live by default rules, rules created by society, family, culture, media, or past trauma. Rules like play it safe, don't dream too big, don't stand out, don't make mistakes, don't upset anyone, don't take risks, don't fail, don't want too much. These rules keep people small. They keep them predictable, they keep them controlled, they keep them quiet. But the rules you choose for your life must be different. They must push you, they must stretch you, they must elevate you, they must reflect who you are becoming, not who you used to be. When you set your rules, you create standards that shape your future. Standards for how you treat yourself. Standards for how others treat you. Standards for the level of effort you bring. Standards for the goals you commit to. Standards for the discipline you maintain. Standards for the relationships you allow into your space. Standards for the environment you keep around you. Your rules become your identity, and your identity becomes the foundation of your destiny. Creating your own rules requires courage. Courage to disappoint the people who benefited from your silence. Courage to outgrow the environments that kept you comfortable. Courage to challenge the beliefs that kept you limited. Courage to risk being misunderstood. Because the moment you create your rules, some people will resist. Some will judge. Some will criticize. Some will say you've changed. And they will be right. You have changed. You are supposed to change. That's the cost of growth. That's the price of transformation. That's the sacrifice of choosing your future over your past. Setting your rules means you become intentional with your yes and powerful with your no. Your yes becomes sacred. Your no becomes liberating. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop saying yes to avoid conflict. You stop saying yes because you fear being rejected. You say yes only to what aligns with your purpose, your growth, your mental peace, your vision. And you say no to anything that drains you, distracts you, disrespects you, or delays your progress. Your rules also give you clarity. They help you filter opportunities, relationships, decisions, and reactions. When you know your rules, you no longer waste time in confusion. You no longer debate your worth. You no longer stay in places that dishonor you. You no longer tolerate inconsistency. You no longer argue with people who refuse to grow. You no longer fight battles that don't move you forward. Clarity turns chaos into direction. Setting your rules also means defining the behaviors you expect from yourself daily. Rules that say, I show up even when I don't feel like it. I don't quit on myself. I don't allow fear to make decisions for me. I speak with intention. I protect my peace. I push myself beyond convenience. I grow every day, even in small ways. These are not just statements. They become the architecture of your life. They create consistency. They build habits. They shape character. And character is what sustains success long after motivation fades. Another powerful part of setting your rules is detaching from external validation. When you no longer need applause to move forward, you become unstoppable. When you no longer crave approval, you become free. When you no longer fear what others think, you become dangerous to your old limitations. This is what happens when you live by your own rules. You gain a level of confidence that does not depend on circumstances, a level of direction that does not require permission, a level of identity that does not bend with pressure. Setting your rules doesn't mean living without guidance. It means choosing guidance intentionally. It means allowing wisdom, not fear, to lead you. It means following purpose, not pressure. It means choosing discipline over distractions, growth over comfort, and self-respect over acceptance. But the most important part of setting your own rules is this. Your rules must be aligned with your highest self. They must reflect the person you want to become, not the person you were forced to be. They must honor your greatness, your gifts, your vision, your strength. They must remind you daily that you are in control of your choices, your habits, your direction, and your destiny. You create rules that expand you, rules that empower you, rules that elevate you, rules that protect your peace, rules that sharpen your focus, rules that reinforce your belief in yourself, rules that push you into becoming the person you were meant to be. Accepting full responsibility for your choices and the direction of your life is one of the most liberating and challenging decisions you will ever make. It requires a level of honesty that most people avoid, because it forces you to confront the truth about where you are, how you got here, and what needs to change. Responsibility is not about guilt, shame, or blaming yourself. It is about ownership. It is about recognizing that you are the one in control, that your decisions shape your path, that your habits determine your outcomes, and that no one is coming to save you or live your life for you. This is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to empower you, because the moment you take responsibility is the moment you regain your power. It is the moment you stop feeling helpless. It is the moment you stop waiting. It is the moment you stop blaming circumstances, people, or the past. Responsibility hands you the steering wheel and says, drive. Most people live their lives pointing outward instead of inward. They blame the economy, their parents, their job, their luck, their partner, their past, their environment, or their circumstances. They create stories that shift accountability away from themselves so they don't have to face the discomfort of admitting they could have done more, chosen differently, or acted sooner. But every time you blame something outside of you, you surrender your power. Every time you shift responsibility, you cripple your ability to create change. You cannot change what you don't own. You cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot grow from what you keep denying. Responsibility is the foundation on which every transformation is built. Taking responsibility means recognizing that your behavior, your habits, your patterns, your mindset, and your reactions have played a major role in shaping your reality. It means acknowledging that you've stayed in situations longer than you should have, that you've accepted less than you deserve, that you've avoided opportunities, that you've allowed fear to dictate decisions, that you've been inconsistent with your goals, that you've made choices based on comfort rather than growth. And facing this truth is not meant to break you, it is meant to free you. Because once you admit your part, you gain the ability to rewrite it. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life. You stop expecting someone to apologize for what they did before you decide to move forward. You stop expecting perfect conditions before you take action. You stop saying, I can't, and start saying, how can I? You stop putting your life on hold while you wait for validation or approval. Responsibility forces you into motion. It requires action. It pushes you to evolve rather than repeat the same cycles year after year. Taking responsibility also means being accountable for your emotions. You may not control what happens, but you control how you respond. You control whether you carry anger or release it. You control whether you let fear paralyze you or motivate you. You control whether you react impulsively or respond intentionally. Emotional responsibility doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means understanding that emotions are real but not always right, and they must be managed, not used as excuses. When you take responsibility for your inner world, the outer world stops having so much power over you. Another part of responsibility is accepting that your life is shaped by the habits you repeat every day. Your health, your finances, your mindset, your relationships, your productivity. These are reflections of daily patterns, not one-time decisions. Responsibility means taking an honest look at your routines and asking yourself whether they are aligned with the life you say you want. It means acknowledging when you've been inconsistent, distracted, undisciplined, unfocused, or procrastinating. This is not self-punishment. It is self-awareness. Awareness is the first step to breaking habits that sabotage your progress. When you accept responsibility, you also stop expecting instant results. You understand that success is not something you stumble into, it is something you build. You stop blaming the process for being slow and start committing yourself more deeply to the journey. You realize that your future is not determined by what you want, but by what you're willing to work for. Responsibility instills patience, consistency, and discipline. You become someone who persists even when motivation fades. Taking responsibility means refusing to live as a victim of your past. It means letting go of the narrative that you are damaged, limited, or doomed by what happened to you. Yes, what you experienced matters. Yes, some things were unfair. Yes, you went through things that others don't understand. But responsibility tells you that you don't have to stay defined by it. You can choose healing. You can choose growth. You can choose meaning. You can choose to use your pain as fuel instead of allowing it to become an anchor. Responsibility allows you to transform your story rather than be controlled by it. Responsibility also forces you to elevate your standards. When you take ownership of your life, you can no longer blame people around you for draining your energy, disrespecting your boundaries, or distracting you from your goals. You must take responsibility for who you allow in your life, for what you tolerate, for the boundaries you enforce or fail to enforce. You must decide what kind of people you surround yourself with, those who pull you forward or those who pull you back. You must decide whether you keep entertaining environments that slow your growth. Responsibility invites you to choose your circle intentionally. Another critical part of responsibility is understanding that your dreams belong to you, not to anyone else. No one owes you support. No one is obligated to believe in you. No one is required to understand your vision. Responsibility teaches you to become your own source of validation. If people clap for you, great. If they don't, keep going anyway. Your life is too important to be delayed by someone else's lack of belief. When you take responsibility, you stop relying on motivation from outside sources and start generating it internally. Responsibility also means owning your mistakes without collapsing under them. Mistakes are part of growth. They are not evidence of failure, they are feedback. They reveal what needs adjustment. They provide lessons. They sharpen your judgment. When you take responsibility, you learn quickly instead of repeating the same errors. You stop defending your mistakes and start correcting them. You stop attaching your identity to your failures and start attaching your identity to your resilience. Accepting full responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is saying to yourself, my life is too valuable to place in the hands of circumstances. My destiny is too important to be left to chance. My future is too meaningful to be shaped by excuses or fear. Responsibility is where maturity begins, where transformation becomes possible, where your power fully awakens. When you finally understand that your decisions shape your destiny, everything in your life begins to shift. No one hands you power. You claim it. You step into it. You rise into it. And the moment you stop waiting for permission, approval, validation, or perfect timing, that's the moment you begin to rewrite your entire story. Most people never tap into their true power because they believe power is something outside of them, something someone else must grant them, something that depends on circumstances lining up in their favor. But the truth is, power is an internal decision. It's a choice to stand up instead of stay down, to speak up instead of stay silent, to move forward instead of remain stuck. Your life begins to transform the moment you stop blaming the world for what you don't have and start commanding the direction of your future. Too many people surrender their power every day without even realizing it. They give it away in excuses, in self-doubt, in fear, in hesitation, in procrastination, in trying to please everyone around them while ignoring the voice inside themselves. They give away their power when they allow the opinions of others to shape their identity. They give it away when they choose comfort over growth, routine over progress, fear over faith. And once you give your power away, everything feels heavy, everything feels out of your control, and life starts happening to you instead of through you. But the moment you stop giving away your power, the moment you say, this is my life, and I will decide what it becomes, something wakes up inside you, a fire, a hunger, a shift. You begin to move differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to expect more from yourself. You start making decisions based on who you want to become, not on who you have been. You start to realize that you don't need to fit into the life someone else imagined for you. You don't need to stay trapped in the expectations that others placed on you. You don't need to remain loyal to your limitations. The power to change your life is already within you. It always has been. It's in the choices you make every morning when you wake up. It's in the mindset you choose to carry into each day. It's in the standards you set for yourself. It's in the dreams you refuse to let die. It's in the boundaries you create to protect your peace, your vision, your energy. It's in the belief that you deserve more than the bare minimum. It's in the decision to rise after every failure, to learn something from every setback, to keep going when others would quit. People often underestimate how powerful a single decision can be. One decision to think differently, one decision to take action, one decision to invest in yourself, one decision to leave an environment that drains you, one decision to stop playing small, one decision to no longer allow your past to dictate your future, one decision to trust that you are capable of more. And those decisions begin to compound. They stack, they build, they form a new identity. They unlock a version of you that you didn't even know existed because you were too busy living by rules that were never yours to begin with. Your destiny isn't written in the stars. It's written in your habits, your choices, your beliefs, your discipline. Every day you wake up with the opportunity to create a new chapter. Every day you have the power to choose a different direction. Every day you can let go of the limitations you inherited, the doubts you absorbed, the fears you adopted. Every day you can reclaim pieces of yourself that life tried to take away. Every day you can decide to step into a stronger, wiser, bolder version of yourself. But claiming your power is not a one-time event. It's a daily commitment. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself that keep holding you back. It asks you to be honest about your fears, your weaknesses, your patterns, your excuses. It requires you to let go of the comfortable lies you tell yourself and embrace the uncomfortable truths that will set you free. It demands that you take ownership without blaming, action without waiting, responsibility without complaining. And yes, it will be challenging. Growth always is. When you begin to claim your power, some people won't recognize you anymore because you're no longer playing the role they assigned you. Some people won't agree with your decisions because your growth exposes their stagnation. Some people won't support you because your confidence reminds them of their insecurities. But your life is not their responsibility. Your journey is not their concern. Your destiny is not their destination. You don't claim your power to please them. You claim it to free yourself. And once you begin to live from that place of power, your entire reality begins to shift. You start to attract opportunities that match your new mindset. You begin to create momentum that pulls you forward. You start to feel aligned, purposeful, decisive. The things that once intimidated you no longer hold the same weight. The problems that once overwhelmed you become challenges you know you can handle. The fears that once controlled you lose their grip. You begin to operate from strength instead of insecurity, from clarity instead of confusion, from intention instead of reaction. Everything changes when you understand that the power was never out there, it was always in you. You realize you don't have to wait to be chosen. You can choose yourself. You don't have to wait for the right moment. You can create it. You don't have to wait for someone to save you. You can rise on your own. And when you finally embrace that, when you finally step into the truth of your own power, you walk differently, speak differently, think differently, live differently. You stop chasing approval and start pursuing purpose. You stop settling and start demanding more from life. You stop shrinking and start expanding. You stop surviving and start becoming who you were meant to be.